Joseph was the cherished son of Jacob, a beacon of hope in a family of 12. His father's love was unmistakable, and it was symbolized by the magnificent coat of many colors he bestowed upon him. This garment was more than just fabric. It was a declaration of favor and destiny, one that ignited a burning jealousy in his brothers' hearts. But it was Joseph's dreams that truly set him apart. In the quiet of the night, as the world slumbered, Joseph saw visions that foretold a future beyond imagining. In one dream, he saw himself and his brothers binding sheaves of grain in the fields. His sheaf stood tall and upright while his brothers bowed down in submission. In another vision, the sun, the moon, and 11 stars, symbols of his family, bowed before him. When he shared these dreams, his words were met with shock and derision. "Shall we really bow before you?" they scoffed. Even Jacob's reaction was mixed. He loved Joseph dearly, yet he could not entirely ignore the implications of these visions. The seeds of destiny had been planted, though Joseph was too young and naive to grasp their full meaning. The day of betrayal arrived on a seemingly ordinary morning. Jacob, unaware of the turmoil brewing, sent Joseph to check on his brothers, who were far out tending the flocks. But as soon as they saw Joseph approaching in his colorful, beloved robe, envy exploded into violence. "Here comes that dreamer," they jeered. "Let's kill him and see what becomes of his dreams." Reuben, the eldest, wrestled with his conscience. He pleaded for mercy, suggesting they throw Joseph into an empty pit instead of shedding his blood, a temporary measure so that he might later rescue his brother. However, in that dark pit, with only the echo of his own heartbeat for company, Joseph's world was shattered. Just as despair began to take hold, fate intervened. A group of Ishmaelite traders destined to journey to Egypt appeared on the horizon. Seizing the chance, Joseph's brothers sold him into slavery for 20 pieces of silver, a pitiful sum for a life's future. Their treachery did not end there. In a final act of deception, they dipped Joseph's cherished robe in goat's blood and presented it to their father, Jacob. Believing a wild beast had claimed his only beloved son, Jacob's mourning was both profound and unending. In Egypt, Joseph's journey took a dramatic turn when he was sold to Potiphar, a high-ranking officer and captain of Pharaoh's guard. Though stripped of his heritage and status, Joseph carried within him the light of resilience. In Potiphar's household, he set himself apart by his firm diligence and honesty. Potiphar, astute and perceptive, soon realized that Joseph's work was touched by divine favor. Everything Joseph undertook flourished, and he was quickly elevated to a position of great trust and responsibility. For a time, Joseph experienced a taste of prosperity and respect, a brief respite from his earlier trials. Yet fate was not done testing him. Enter Potiphar's wife, a woman whose beauty masked a heart driven by desire and ambition. Every day she sought to lure Joseph away from his path of righteousness. "Just one moment," she whispered enticingly, every encounter laced with temptation. Joseph, a man of integrity, responded with a quiet but firm refusal. "How could I do such a wicked thing and sin against God?" he declared, his voice steady despite the storm raging around him in his heart. His refusal was not only an act of moral courage, it was an affirmation of his deep faith. But the temptation was relentless. One fateful day, when the household was empty and the air was thick with anticipation, Potiphar's wife made her move. Clutching his cloak in a desperate bid, she demanded that he abandon his honor. In that split second, Joseph made a choice, one that would cost him dearly. He fled, leaving behind not only his garment, but also the remnants of trust that he had painstakingly built. Furious and vengeful, she immediately came up with a lie, a tale so potent that it sealed Joseph's fate. She accused him of an assault, twisting his noble act of resistance into a web of deceit. Potiphar, blinded by anger and honor, saw only her words. In an instant, the promise of a rising star was dimmed as Joseph was cast into the depths of prison. Even in the depths of despair, Joseph's spirit was unbroken. Despite being wrongfully imprisoned, he became a beacon of hope and integrity behind those cold, oppressive walls. The prison warden, recognizing Joseph's calm wisdom and managerial skills, entrusted him with the care and oversight of fellow prisoners. It was during this time of isolation that Joseph's gift began to shine. Two of Pharaoh's own servants, the chief cupbearer and the chief baker, found themselves behind bars, their lives hanging in the balance. One fateful night, tormented by strange, unsettling dreams, they turned to Joseph for guidance. Interpretations belong to God. Joseph said softly, inviting them to share the visions that haunted them. The cupbearer's dream was one of hope. He saw himself being lifted back into Pharaoh's favor, restored to a place of honor. The baker, however, was met with a grim prophecy. His dream foretold a swift and certain execution. Within just 3 days, the prophecy proved true. The cupbearer was reinstated, and the baker met his tragic end. In that moment, Joseph's ability to interpret dreams was both a gift and a burden, a reminder that God moves in mysterious ways. Before departing, Joseph pleaded with the cupbearer, "Remember me when you are free." But as history unfolded, the cupbearer, swept away by his newfound status, forgot the man who had shown him a glimpse of his future. As the years passed, God was drawing Joseph into a role far beyond the prison walls. Pharaoh himself was troubled by dreams that defied explanation. In one vision, 7 fat cows were consumed by 7 thin cows. In another, 7 healthy heads of grain were swallowed up by 7 withered, fragile ones. These images were haunting, and no court astrologer or advisor could decipher their meaning. At last, the memory of Joseph's talent came back to the forefront when the freed cupbearer, now a shadow of forgotten promises, recalled the humble man who had interpreted dreams in prison. With nothing left to lose, Pharaoh summoned Joseph to his court. The weight of his past, the betrayal, the hardships of slavery, the dark days of imprisonment converged in this pivotal moment. With a calm that belied his turbulent journey, Joseph gave thanks to God and spoke. "Pharaoh, the dreams mean this: 7 years of abundant harvests will be followed by 7 years of severe famine. It is a warning, an opportunity to prepare." The gravity of his words was not lost on Pharaoh. He recognized the divine insight in Joseph's interpretation, and impressed by the wisdom and clarity in his vision, made an unprecedented decision. Joseph was elevated to a position of supreme authority as the second in command of Egypt. The slave who had once known only hardship now stood on the threshold of ruling an empire. As the prophesied famine descended upon the land, scarcity and desperation drove people from far and wide to Egypt. Unbeknownst to them, the man in charge was none other than Joseph, a man whose journey from slavery had endowed him with wisdom and compassion beyond measure. Among the multitudes seeking food and water were Joseph's own brothers, now grim and burdened by regret. They had come to Egypt seeking relief from the famine, completely unaware that the powerful ruler they now faced was the very brother they had once betrayed. The irony was notable as they knelt, begging for mercy and food, not realizing that the prophecy was unfolding before their very eyes. In a triumph of divine strategy, Joseph orchestrated a series of tests. He sought to discern whether his brothers had changed, whether remorse and growth had taken root in their hearts. Through a series of subtle encounters, questions, challenges, and moments of vulnerability, he observed their true character. Finally, unable to hide their guilt and longing for reconciliation, his brothers revealed the depths of their regret. Torn between the urge for vengeance and the grace that had carried him through his darkest days, Joseph made a choice that would define his legacy. In a moment charged with emotion and forgiveness, he stepped forward and revealed his identity. "I am Joseph," he declared, his voice steady yet laced with years of pain and hope. "What you intended for harm, God intended for good. Your actions have set the stage for the salvation of many, including yourselves." Even when life appears to be unfair, every trial is part of a grand design. Joseph's journey from the depths of betrayal and imprisonment to the heights of power teaches us that our struggles are not the end. They are the crucible that shapes our destiny. Every setback, every hardship may be the very path leading to our greatest triumph. So hold on to your dreams, trust in the journey, but more importantly, trust in God. And remember that forgiveness and integrity can change not only your life, but the world around you. Thank you for joining us on this journey through Joseph's story. If his faith has inspired you, trust that God is working through your trials for his greater purpose. Like, subscribe, and stay with us for more stories of faith and prophecies. To God be the glory. Your story is still unfolding.